Microsoft has opened a ginormous lawsuit upon Total WoW. This isn't Blizzard and Activision Blizzard's retainer, this is Microsoft's legal retainer. This is a ginormous company whose sole goal is to destroy and effectively dismantle the Total WoW operation. Now, there's a whole lot of information here to really go through, and I didn't really do it the day it came out because I want to do some more research and go into more detail on what's been happening behind the scenes before I give my opinion. And being real, this did kind of backfire. A lot of people were on Blizzard's side in this context saying, well, of course, they should have taken down Total WoW, this is Blizzard's IP. But a lot of the classic community themselves were rather upset at this change. If you were to look on Twitter, Reddit, the Discord, forums, a lot of classic players are very, very upset because in their minds, Blizzard shouldn't be shutting down TWoW, they should be acquiring it and giving the classic players an official TWoW itself. Now, that's a whole different conversation. But let's dive into this lawsuit and effectively what happened in the background story and all of that. Blizzard Entertainment Inc. versus Total WoW, District Court CD California. This was filed on August 29th, 2025. The main point of this was copyright infringement. Now, this whole lawsuit is a rather long document. There's a bunch of pages, 49 pages to be exact, going over many things that they say Total WoW did, from the RICO Act, which I'll go into more detail in a second, to racketeering, to every little infraction that they could hit Total WoW with. This isn't just meant to shut down a private server, this is meant to give them complete and utter domination across the world in regards to getting access to Total WoW's backend server information. So let's start with AFK Craft, the shell company that holds and owns Total WoW. And they of course went and leaked everybody's information, the person in charge of Total WoW, all the lead employees, marketing lead, all these lead devs. Everybody had all the information just shared online, and the problem here is most of these people aren't in easily extraditable countries. But one person, the lead of marketing in fact, lives in Michigan. That's in US home turf. I feel bad for the guy because I'm pretty sure his life is kind of screwed based on just what the RICO Act is meant to do. So what is the RICO Act? Finally, the defendants have violated the Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO. This is what they used to get Bernie Madoff, by the way. By working together to operate a sophisticated and lucrative global enterprise that develops and sells software that defendants know illegally infringes on Blizzard's trademarks and copyrights. Defendants' participation in this enterprise, including authoring and distributing extensive US marketing campaigns and funding solicitations that tout pirated content, constitutes illegal racketeering activity. They aren't playing around in the slightest bit. So what is the point of the RICO Act here? If they were just going to have a copyright infringement, they'd do another cease and desist, a DMCA on the website and everything like that. But they went balls to the walls, complete annihilation. They are spending more money in legal fees on this retainer. This is a top tier world level legal company that's running this entire case against TWoW. And despite this massive case, it doesn't actually make a lot of sense for a lawsuit on this scale or caliber. Now, a lot of people said that Total WoW poked the bear, right? Because of the amount of ads everywhere. If you go on YouTube, if you go on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, I see Total WoW ads everywhere. Quite literally everywhere. I'm not even talking about the people in the comment section. Even now, my videos get dozens upon dozens of comments per day saying, hey, fuck Blizzard, fuck retail, fuck classic, play TWoW. And those are just real people that are sharing their opinions and their excitement for the Total WoW project. But the ads themselves, if you were to go onto Twitter right now, I'm not sure if those tweets are still up, but there are a dozen plus tweets of the Total WoW marketing team atting Blizzard directly, responding to ad campaigns or programs or announcements by Blizzard and just atting them or saying, hey, you guys should do this. Hey, what do you guys think about this? It was quite literally I remember it was funny. It was really entertaining at the time. I was like, that's funny. They're poking the bear, Blizzard's not doing anything. And then, Blizzard responded. But the RICO Act effectively means that every European country, and a lot of these people that work on the TWoW team live in the Netherlands, Germany, Italy, Spain, all these different countries, those countries extradite to the US. And because this is a criminal proceeding, not yet, now it's still civil, mind you, don't get me wrong, this hasn't really hit the level of they're criminals yet, it's still a civil lawsuit. So I don't know, I'm not the biggest legal expert, I'm not going to sit here and lie to everybody going, oh my god, lawyer Eben, I know exactly everything, I'm going to tell you guys all the legalities of all these things. I've talked to a couple of lawyers and people that work in legal things, right? But this isn't really a case that the average lawyer partakes in. Most people, it's family law or this law or that law. So this is a different level of lawsuits than regular private servers would ever be facing. But assuming the RICO Act goes through and is handled properly, every single person except the people living in Moscow, Russia, because, you know, the people living in Hong Kong, NetEase will handle them, right? Microsoft's going to reach out to NetEase. They have that partnership. They'll get that shut down themselves. But Russia is the only real place that's, you know, untouchable. Well, also North Korea and Iran, but, you know, it's not like there's Total WoW servers operating over there, is there? But before I continue on to the next things about this whole lawsuit, I do want to say something. Other private servers are not really in jeopardy. They did not name Ascension, they didn't name Epoch, they didn't name Warmain, nothing else was named whatsoever. This whole lawsuit is quite literally only against Total WoW. And I have seen more Ascension ads and, like, you know, ads for those other private servers than I have of Total WoW ads. So it begs the question of, why was it Total WoW that got absolutely hammered by the long dick of the law? And I'm going to show you guys. Before I cover everything else, I want to show you the very last thing in the entire legal document. Requiring defendants to cease from any further development, distribution, marketing, or advertising of the Total WoW client and any colorable copy thereof, posted at any domain, address, location, or ISP. That's regular, because there was a bunch of these. But the fourth one on the final list was requiring defendants to deliver to Blizzard all copies of materials that infringe or violate any of Blizzard's rights described therein, including all versions of the Total WoW client and any Total WoW servers. They want the source code. They want all the code and development and tools and the art assets and everything that the TWoW devs have done delivered to Blizzard. Now, does the classic dev team even need this? They probably don't. Remember, they went from about 10 people at the start of SOD to about 45 to 60 people as of right now, where they're working on Classic Plus in the back end. But being given the complete and utter tools and assets and server infrastructure of all of Total WoW is definitely going to speed up Classic Plus's development drastically. Will they ever admit to using it? Absolutely not. They never would. But seeing that one of the goals is to quite literally deliver all copies of materials that infringe or violate any of Blizzard's rights described therein, including all versions of the Total WoW client and any Total WoW servers. That includes the Unreal Engine 5 gameplay and all the back-end work for that. That includes all the graphical changes, all the UI updates, all the client updates, the world building tools, the dungeon building tools, all those things that were like janky and broken on the original existing vanilla client, or even the updated modern vanilla client. TWoW has custom tools to get around a lot of those problems that come with, you know, developing things on the vanilla client. Now, before I dive into any other legal things, I do want to say one thing. When Blizzard opened this lawsuit, a lot of people got terrified because you guys know how it is, right? A lot of people are going to see, like, you know, oh my god, this ginormous lawsuit, what does that mean for me, or this or that? But that's not really going to do much to Total WoW in the meantime until the court case progresses. Total WoW broke 13,000 people in Ambershire today. By the time this video comes, it'll be a day or two later, mind you, because I've been doing my research on writing this video, but people are less terrified and they're just more excited. I know a lot of people have been saying, I've never even heard of Total WoW before today, before the lawsuit dropped, and WoW had covered it, all these big streamers covered it, YouTubers, you know, retail people. So many people that never covered, you know, TWoW or private servers at all have finally been covering it. And because of that, there's so many more eyes on Total WoW. The Total WoW beforehand was a Classic Plus private server. Total WoW is now the Classic Plus private server, not one of. It is the de facto Classic Plus private server experience. It is the de facto Classic Plus. Blizzard now has to look at Total WoW and make a much better launch product than existing TWoW. Because if they launch their own version of Classic Plus later on, like late next year after BlizzCon, everyone's immediately going to take their eyes from the official Classic Plus to TWoW's Classic Plus. And now the stakes are higher than before. Now I want to read this next thing here. Recently, Total WoW has been brazenly escalating its efforts to counterbalance and disrupt Blizzard's WoW player community by, for example, increasing its social media presence, partnering with video game influencers. If you guys have noticed, you know, a lot of people stopped covering TWoW, a lot of content creators that were enjoying it, a lot of people that were just loving and diving into the whole experience. Everybody cold turkey stopped because of the fear of being liable or getting litigated in a lawsuit of this caliber. Most WoW creators will never be able to fight off Blizzard lawyers or Microsoft lawyers. Even if you're in the right, even if you've done nothing technically wrong or illegal, by virtue of you playing and making content on it, that liability is a big fear for a lot of people. Because even if you're right, are you going to be able to fight off Microsoft's lawyers in court? Are you going to be able to pay them off? They can drag this shit out. You're not really winning that. Even if you're correct, you're not really winning. But nonetheless, by increasing social media presence, partnering with video game influencers, and actively promoting a new version of its infringing game, Total WoW 2.0, Total WoW 2.0 purports to ensure we can offer an entertaining, expanded gameplay for everyone long into the future and extend the life of our favorite game by replicating the entirety of the WoW game into the new Unreal Engine 5 video game engine, and using that engine to incorporate new graphical enhancements into the game. In the meantime, Total WoW and its player community boast online that they can operate worldwide, including in the United States, with impunity and violate Blizzard's intellectual property rights without consequences. They reached for the sun, and they got burned. It's the story of Icarus all over again. Or maybe in this context, the sun was a piece of shit and just wasn't really delivering the light that people wanted. Now, I love World of Warcraft. I love Classic. I think the devs are amazing. But I do understand a lot of the frustrations of the Classic community and loving TWoW. I'm not going to say one side is correct yet. Well, legally, Blizzard is in the 100% clear. There is no like fighting that legality, that discussion. And like I said, a lot of people themselves, the players, are never going to stop playing because they're not afraid. They don't really care. What's it going to do to them? Right? You know, if the content creators are terrified, that's on the content creators. The people are going to keep playing. Except once they go to this next statement here, requiring to the extent permissible under US law, internet service providers located in the United States to cease providing access to Total WoW and the Total WoW website, such as by blocking or restricting the IP address of the Total WoW servers and the Total WoW website. 8. Transferring the Total WoW domain name to Blizzard. 9. Requiring the defendants to provide Blizzard with an accounting of any of the players involved in the game. So all the player data, information, passwords, account data, all that stuff. So as of right now, this isn't going to really be affecting anybody, right? Because it's going to take a while for the legal proceedings to get to the point where the internet providers shut it down and make it hard to get in. But when they do eventually get around to that, and you need a VPN to play TWoW, that's when the numbers will start dropping. A lot of people are adverse to really getting to that difficulty and that mindset of installing programs, software, websites, and using that stuff to get around internet infrastructure. So a lot of people will see TWoW, that you need a VPN to even access or play now, and they'll move on. And that's going to be one of the bigger blows. But until that big blow gets there, Total WoW is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as more and more people discover Total WoW because of all the drama around this lawsuit. Now, this next thing is probably the biggest thing that I showed that's going to actually strike fear into people's hearts. And I don't know how many people actually read this, but the EULA of Blizzard means they can ban you for ever having played TWoW. So I'm going to read out the whole EULA. The EULA sets forth the terms of a limited use license between Blizzard and the users of WoW, pursuant to which Blizzard grants to the user, subject to the terms of the EULA, a conditional, limited, revocable, non-sublicensable, and non-exclusive license to install WoW on the user's personal computer. And that's only for your personal and non-commercial entertainment purposes only. The license contained in the EULA is conditioned upon the user's compliance with a set of contractual obligations and provisions, including provisions that expressly prohibit certain user conduct, including 1. Matchmaking. Hosting, providing, or developing matchmaking services for the games, or intercepting, emulating, or redirecting the communication protocols used by Blizzard in any way for any purpose, including without limitation, unauthorized play over the internet, network play except as expressively authorized by Blizzard or as part of a content aggregation networks. PTR, stuff like that, or like private servers hosted by Blizzard for creators when they do events, for example, stuff like that. Then you have the unauthorized connections, which is the 2. Facilitating, creating, or maintaining any unauthorized connection to the platform, including without limitation, any connection to any unauthorized server that emulates or attempts to emulate the platform, and any connection using third-party programs or tools not expressly authorized by Blizzard. The EULA is valid and enforceable contract between Blizzard and its players. Any use of the WoW game client that is not in accordance with the EULA is expressly prohibited, constitutes a breach of the EULA, and will subject the user to penalties under the EULA, including revocation or nullification of the user's limited license. By playing TWoW, Blizzard is now outright saying they can ban you and they will potentially ban you. But I'm gonna be real, they're not gonna ban many people, they're gonna hit some big targets, right? So for example, say I, Ebon Hart, kept playing TWoW, kept making content, kept discussing, grinding, playing, saying, fuck you Blizzard and Microsoft, I'm getting a permaban. I might even get put into litigation for expressively promoting and marketing TWoW. So with the content creators now afraid, with the player base now getting some fear into potentially losing their official Blizzard account and getting permabanned, to just across the board making it more and more dangerous, especially because they're looking for $150,000 per infraction. As a direct and proximate result of the infringements by defendants, Blizzard is entitled to damages and to defendants' profits in amounts to be proven at trial, which are not currently ascertainable. Alternatively, Blizzard is entitled to a maximum statutory damage of $150,000 for each copyright infringed, or in such amount as may be proper under the guidelines. Now, this was only one of several times they mentioned $100,000, $150,000 per infraction. They mentioned it across multiple different fronts, multiple different activities, multiple different infringements. That fear is going to be the breaking point for a lot of people. WoW is doing an amazing job with the content it's created, but at the end of the day, it is pirated content. And by virtue of it being pirated content, it's sadly under this huge benchmark, this huge problem of it was too good of a private server, it was too popular, and it actively threatened Blizzard's identity and definition of classic. When the best version of classic WoW available for a lot of people right now was a private server, i.e. Total WoW, compared to Mists of Pandaria, or in comparison to Anniversary, that was a dangerous situation to be in for Blizzard as a whole. Now, I'm not saying that Blizzard is doing a bad job, but Mists of Pandaria is neither people's definition of classic, and neither is rerunning Anniversary for the 6th time people's definition of amazing content. So when Total WoW came out and did something completely new, unique, and organic, that, on top of that, the Unreal Engine 5 things, and showcasing people the world of Classic Plus, right? Keep in mind, 500,000 unique monthly users and 44,000 peak active users. That is an obscene number for a private server. Keep in mind, Nostalrius had 16,000. When Blizzard went full walls, like, you know, full balls to the walls, there's anger and frustration, and then Nostalrius stepped down, laid back, and said, all right, Blizzard, we give up. Here's the source code, here's the information. And I think a couple of people got hired from Nostalrius to work at Blizzard afterwards as well. I don't think they're hiring WoW. They should hire out the whole team. Why not? Like, they've done a lot of good jobs here, a lot of good work. But this is a situation where I think Microsoft's going for the kill. And I think while WoW is going to keep on climbing as is, right, getting more and more viewers, I think at a certain point in the near future, once the extradition starts happening, the legal court case that's happening, the RICO access getting enforced, the ISP starts shutting things down, VPN requirements, websites inaccessible, and just everybody's just terrified because they're probably going to, like I said, they're probably going to pick a couple people to make examples. Some random creator getting charged $150,000 for an infraction, creators getting completely banned, just a random users suddenly getting perma-banned for having played Total WoW. Because keep in mind, their servers are in the UK, they're in Latin America, and they're in Hong Kong. All three of those locations can be seized. All those assets and servers can be seized in those locations. And when that happens, all the user data is probably gonna get picked up by Microsoft. But hey, as bad as this lawsuit is, Blizzard is in the legal right. And I know for a lot of people, being in the legal right means nothing. They just want more classic, better classic, more content. But this is Microsoft, the $4 trillion company. They're doing what's in their best interest, and that's protecting their IP. Whether we like it or not is irrelevant. WoW will be going down, and other big private servers likely will not follow because they're not making the kind of stuff that Blizzard is afraid of or Microsoft's afraid of. So Epoch and Ascension, that stuff's gonna stay safe and like awake and alive for a long, long time. But WoW has done too much and is just has too many features that Microsoft now wants, and the classic devs can likely use. So thank you all for coming and watching this legal breakdown. It was probably a rather dog shit breakdown, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, like and subscribe. If you hated it, understandable. Dislike and subscribe and become a dedicated hater. It is what it is. Thank you all. Ebonheart out. Peace. Also, RIP Turtle.